A second chance for those who have struck out in life. Find out more on this edition of Public Report.
TCT presents Public Report, a look at the issues and events of importance to our viewing area. Now, here's your host.
Welcome to Public Report. I'm your host, Jeff Baker. In this program today, we're going to be talking about those who have had difficulties in life and even have found themselves losing everything due to substance abuse. And there's a ministry right here in Wilson, North Carolina, that's addressing that need and helping them have a second chance, an opportunity to get their lives squared away and straightened out. Here to talk about the Flynn home here in Wilson, North Carolina is Scott Strother. Scott, thank you for coming to be with us on Public Report today.
Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate you letting me come.
Absolutely. Now, the Flynn home is a place for men to be able to go and get a second chance at life. But tell us how it got started and what is your mission and purpose?
The Flynn home was started back in the early 40s. Originally, from my understanding, it was started by Joe Flynn, who was a businessman who himself had a bout with alcoholism. And after he came out of the alcoholism and defeated that addiction, he saw a need for a place that many people refer to as a halfway house, or a recovery home now is probably the more politically correct term. And he saw the need to have a place that someone could go, a man could go to, and it would be a home-like atmosphere where other men were in similar situation and had seen the need for change and were willing to accept help, not on their own terms, but just as it needed to come. And they could have a place that would be safe, a home environment where they could retool themselves, so to speak, and change their thought process and get their feet back up underneath them, and to eventually get back out there on their own. And this was moved from, it was across the different states in the East Coast. And in 1969, one was founded here in Wilson, North Carolina. And we've been going strong ever since.
Good. And one of the things you just said that I thought was important is accepting help not on their own terms. Help me understand what that means.
When gentlemen come to me and we do an interview process, one of the first things they need to recognize is, yes, I have a problem. The next thing they need to know is that they need help. And they need to be willing to accept help. But there's really a fourth step that I'm waiting to listen to in that interview process, and that is they're willing to accept help however it comes. Occasionally you'll have someone that says, yes, I've got a problem, yes, I know I need help, and I want help. But they're really wanting it on their terms. They're wanting it, I think this is what I need, and I need you to help me get that. I need you to help me get there. And quite honestly, it's like being lost in the woods. Jeff, if you and I were out in the woods or you were out in the woods lost, and I came up on you and I knew where I was, and you didn't know where you were, it would be silly for you to start telling us after we got to walking a ways, hey, let's make a left here. And I'm like, Jeff, do you know where you are? And you're like, well, no, not exactly, but I just believe that I need to go this way. If you knew where you were in the woods to begin with, you wouldn't have been lost. And if these men knew where they needed to go and what they needed to do, they wouldn't need help.
It's a little bit like the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again, but expecting different results.
Exactly.
And so they need to change their way of thinking. So you get them to that point in that fourth step before that they can come into the program.
Exactly.
And how do you keep them on track once you have them in the program and keep them moving in that direction?
Well, first of all, there's curfew. There's certain chores that have to be done. There's accountability. when someone leaves the house, they have to sign out, they have to sign in. The accountability is huge. There's also, one of the first things I try to explain to people is that they need to be transparent. The transparency, not so much for me, for me as the director. They need to become transparent to other people, and they need to be open about their addiction. They need to be open about how they've lied in the past, how they've tried to cover it. They need to be open about what it has driven them to do, so that the people that are trying to help them are better able to identify if they're starting to slip back. I try to explain it this way. Transparency is not necessarily vulnerability. A lot of people think that if I tell you everything, if I'm totally transparent, that makes me weak. But I use the illustration of the lady who is at the convenience store behind the thick bulletproof glass. She's very transparent, and you can see what's going on behind that glass, and she can see you, but she's hardly vulnerable. And so transparency doesn't necessarily mean vulnerability. It just means everything's out in the open. You can see it. And the best way for somebody to help anyone else is if that person's willing to be transparent and have an idea of my shortfalls, my down sittings, and the things that trip me up.
Okay. And is that the vulnerability that you're speaking about?
That's the transparency. If I let you know what all I've done to, or what these habits, these addictions have made me do, so that I can continue to indulge and to meet that physical or emotional need that where that addiction has gotten me to. If I'll reveal those to you, you stand a much better chance of being able to call me out if you see me slipping back toward those things. So the transparency with you, if I'm telling you these things, is going to help me be less vulnerable to the addictions.
Okay. Let's talk about your clients that you have there at the Flynn home. Who are they? Not by name, but who are they? How did they get there? And what's the criteria for becoming a resident?
Okay. As far as who are they, I've had guys with PhDs. I've had guys with college degrees. There have been men who never finished the 7th grade.
Well, what is their commonality? If you got a PhD and you've got a guy who never even got out of junior high school, where's the common ground between them?
The common ground is that they have succumbed to the addiction of alcohol or drugs.
Okay.
And the common ground is that not only have they succumbed to it, they've recognized it as an addiction. They've recognized that they have a need for help, and they recognize that they need to let someone help them.
Well, with all the high-end facilities for people to be able to go through recovery, a doctor or a man who didn't even get out of junior high, how would they end up choosing the Flynn home over like one of those high-end agencies?
Well, now a lot of times the gentlemen that come to us, they've gone through a recovery program. They may have come out and been at a 30-day or a 60-day recovery program. What the Flynn Christian Fellowship Home is a halfway house. It's somewhere halfway between that need for going through recovery and that getting back out there in the real world.
Okay.
So we help provide that home setting to where they can begin to slip back into life, begin to get their feet back up underneath them with greater responsibility, a little more freedom, opportunity to make good choices. There's opportunity to make bad choices too, but good choices where there's support around you and like-minded people who are going through what you're going through, people that you can fellowship with, commune with, share with, and go through some of those ups and downs of re-entering the life.
Okay. So one of the things we talked about is giving a second chance to those, in my words, have struck out in life. And so that's what you're doing, is you're giving them an opportunity to relearn what has caused a downfall in their life.
Yeah. One of the best ways to get rid of a bad habit is to replace it with a new good habit. So you're going there to the Flynn home, you're getting used to cleaning up after yourself, you're getting, again, and for some people for the first time, you're getting used to having responsibilities that need to be met daily and weekly, taking responsibility for yourself, for your actions, for your choices, where you are, where you're not, and accountability. Many of these men have gone through years of being accountable to no one, to their own detriment. So this gives them an opportunity to be accountable again.
So a lot of these guys, that they have tried other things, they've already burned up their resources with their families. They pretty much have lost everything in most cases, am I right?
In most cases, when the guys come to us, as much as their family would like to help them, as much as their family would like to provide, they're at the place to where they realize that they may actually be contributing to without wanting to. A lot of them have burnt so many bridges, like you say, that they don't have family to go back to right now. They've proven themselves to not be trustworthy or to not be where they need to be so much that they don't have anywhere else to turn.
Now, sometimes when we who have never suffered through these kind of things before think about those who have found themselves in this situation, we say to ourselves, well, they should know better, they should need to pick themselves up, they need to clean themselves up. But it's not because they're an evil person that they ended up where they're at. There was a track that led them to where they're at.
Exactly. For me, myself, I am what someone would call a teetotaler. Alcohol, drugs has no place in my life whatsoever, legal or illegal.
And why is that?
It's my personal conviction, it's my personal belief. I know there's a lot of Christian people that maybe they don't have a problem with the consumption of alcohol. They don't see it as something they don't need to do, and that's between them and the Lord. For me personally, though, I look and I think, well, if someone sees me partaking in something and then they reach out and they think, well, it's okay, and because of my influence they partake and fall, I feel like I have a responsibility to do the best I can.
But you've kind of walked this path too, right?
Oh yeah, I have.
Okay.
It's been a long time ago, and at the age of about 19 or 20, I gave my heart to the Lord. But prior to that, you know, I'm not going to say I was the worst out there. I'm not going to say I was the best out there. Drugs and alcohol, that was pretty much my life. That's what I thought life for me was going to be about. I could see myself partying on up until I was retirement age. I had embraced it as just a way to go through life and live life and something to enjoy. On the other hand, what was meant for enjoyment originally did become a taskmaster, did become that thing that was supposed to bring me together with other people, separated me, left me feeling very, very alone. I remember one night waking up about 3 in the morning in an alleyway, and as I opened my eyes, I saw buildings rising up on either side of me and just the night sky. And I had passed out on like a tabletop in the back alley of a bar from that night. And later, I realized, or it dawned on me, where were my friends? Why was I left out there? did no one notice.
And the party was over.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, did you set out to end up in an alley like that?
No.
Do your clients that you work with,
No.
did they set out to end
No
up
one ever takes, I've never met anyone, let me say it that way, whoever took the first drink, whoever did the first drug for recreation, whoever took the first Xanax with the idea of calming their nerves. No one ever did anything with prescription drugs or illegal with the intent of becoming addicted and hooked and having them run and ruin their lives. No one have ever met like that.
I guess most people say, well, it'll never happen to me.
Sure. I was speaking with one of the guys the other day, and we were talking about it. They attend AA or NA meetings, and I said, when you go to these meetings, because they're somewhat new to him, I said, you'll look around and you may see someone who never got as bad as you did, and you'll think to yourself, wow, I wish I had stopped when they did. And then you may look at someone else and realize how far gone they got before they felt like they hit bottom and reached out for help. And you may think to yourself, wow, I'm glad I never got that bad. But keep in mind that that guy that got that bad, that you never got down to that level, one day he was at your level and he had no thought that he was going to go down to the level he was at. Just like the level that you did get to. One day you were at that other person's level that quit way before you did, and you never thought you'd get to where you got.
So you got a man now that is, they've reached this point. They realize, I've messed up, I can't help myself, I need to change, I need to come clean, so I need to get into the Flynn Christian Fellowship Home. What does the Flynn Christian Fellowship Home offer them in order to help them to change?
Well, first of all, they do have to have the desire to change. And they've got to recognize that they can't do it on their own. If they could, they already would have. And that someone, again, a power greater than themselves is going to have to help them do that. Now, for the people that have a faith in God or that are willing to accept and have a belief in God, that's number one. Yeah. There are a few people that occasionally will come in and they'll say, well, I don't really believe in God. Well, you better be reaching out to someone and recognize that you've got to have help from someone smarter than you, someone who knows where they are and knows where you are and knows how to get you back to where you need to be and where you want to be. So you're going to have to reach out. They're going to have to reach out to somebody. Mm-hmm. You know, it makes me think about the Good Samaritan. Here was a man, the man who was traveling on the road to Jerusalem. Did he have any idea that he was going to go down that road and get robbed, that he was going to be beaten, that he was going to be left half dead? No. Yeah. He just started out on what he thought, maybe it was a journey that he's had many times before. But some bad things happened. And he found himself in a bad way. Along comes the person we've come to know as the Good Samaritan, who recognized the need and reached out and began to help him. Bound up his wounds, put him on his own donkey, carried him to the inn, paid for whatever services were rendered, and then told the innkeeper, if there's anything else he needs, go ahead and give it to him, and when I get back, I'll pay him. That's really the place, or I'll pay for it. That's really the place of the Flynn home.
Okay.
We're recognizing that someone's gone down a path that it didn't turn out anything like what they originally intended. I don't know, no matter what those intents were. Mm-hmm. Nobody took that first drink. Nobody took that drug with the intent, like I said, to become addicted. And so the Flynn home is like that Good Samaritan. We're stretching out our hand. We're trying to help you bind up those wounds. We're trying to help you get your thinking different. Challenge you not to think the way you used to think. Reach out, accept help, receive help, and let others do for you what you cannot do for yourself until you're in a better position to do for yourself.
Okay, someone finds themselves in that position. They recognize they need this kind of help. Financially, what can they expect whenever they come to you? What can they expect to pay to go through a program or just being in the home with you? What are going to be their responsibilities?
One of the first things, we do have $80 a week rent that the residents pay. Not everyone when they first come can, so it is a requirement that they find work as quickly as possible. Some are in a better position to find work than others, depending on where they are emotionally, mentally. Some of these guys come and they've really been beat down as far as self-confidence, as far as their self-worth. They wouldn't hire themselves, so it's hard for them to imagine somebody trying to hire them. So it can take a little longer for some than others, but it's an $80 a week fee that's required. We do have a lot of help, so we appreciate anyone that contributes, anyone that helps. We get help from the Area United Way. We have different churches that contribute. And so if it was just on the rent alone, there's no way that we could remain open just based on that. Sure. So they are required to go out and find work. And we don't necessarily, we've had gentlemen to come that have had $60,000, $90,000 a year jobs. We're not telling them go out there and jump right back into the career that you had before, try to. It's find out what you can do that you can get your needs met, again, get your feet back up underneath you, and stabilize yourself in the thought process that you need to have to deal with life on its terms without going back to drinking and using drugs and into addictive behavior.
Sure. Okay, so they expect $80 a week. How long can they stay and receive help?
We've had people stay as short as 7 days. That doesn't necessarily mean that they got the help that they needed, but I have seen people come in and stay for about 2 weeks, and it did help them get stable enough to where they could get a place. Last year, the average was about 3 months. We have had people to stay longer than a year because it just varies. It's not set in stone. It varies based on that person's needs.
So you're looking at the individual needs and assessing it and working with them as they need that.
Exactly.
Well, now if folks are watching this all over the Triangle area, you know, we cover 23 counties here in the Raleigh market, and there are people all over who are saying in some way or another I can identify with this program. Either I've been through it, I have relatives who've gone through it, or I just have a heart for it and I want to give to it. How can they contact you?
The information's will be on the screen, and they can either call, they can send us a letter, you can come knocking on the door if you want to, and then we also have our email address there on the screen.
Okay.
So, and we would love the opportunity to share more information, so if somebody wants to call and get more or any contributions, we work really, really hard to be good stewards of it. We do feed these guys 5 meals a week, an evening meal that they can sit down together, eat together. I am their cook for now, so
bless their hearts.
Pray for them. Yeah, pray. We do pray over the meals.
Well, what is your greatest need right now? How can the public best help you?
Locally, we have all along. We have people that'll come and they'll bring paper products or food products. We don't have a large budget, so financially, people can help. Now, mainly and primarily would be prayer.
Yeah.
prayer for wisdom, prayer for the eyes of our understanding being enlightened. Many mornings, the first thing I'm thinking is, Lord, help me help these guys. Give them an encouraging word, say something that is going to instill confidence in themselves, to draw them closer to the Lord, to give them a better understanding of God's design and God's plan for them. Everybody needs hope. Everybody needs a vision. And a lot of these guys don't, so pray. Pray for these men, pray for this ministry, and then again, financially.
Okay.
Anything anyone would like to do would be greatly appreciated.
Okay, we've got about 2 minutes left in the program. What is your biggest goal or ambition at this point where you're taking the Flynn home?
The Flynn home, the house we're in right now is temporary. The house that we were in is being completely refurbished. We got a government grant, thank God for that. They're refurbishing the home. It would be really, really great if we could go back in there with some new bedroom furnishings. A lot of them that we have, they've been donated, and that's greatly appreciated. Some have been worn out.
So this would be a good project for a men's group or a women's group or a Sunday school class to adopt a room.
Absolutely. And
furnish it, and that become their area of ministry.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, I want to encourage you. You're watching this program today. You've been hearing about the Flynn Christian Fellowship Home right here in Wilson, North Carolina. You see the information that's there on the screen. I want to encourage you to do your part to reach out to these men who would be considered the least of these that Jesus talked about, because they need your help. They need a second chance at life. And so we want you to join in with Scott and the ministry he has there to be able to make a difference in these people's lives. So get a hold of them. Perhaps you've got a financial gift you want to give to them. Perhaps you have a men's group or women's group that's looking for a project that they can make a difference. Reach out to them and make a difference in these people's lives. You've been watching Public Report. This is an opportunity for us to showcase ministries and organizations throughout our area that are making a difference in people's lives. If you have a program idea that you would like to share with us, contact us at WRAY@tct.tv, and we would love to do a program. Until next time, I've been your host, Jeff Baker. Go out and have a great afternoon.
This has been Public Report. Public Report discusses the issues of interest and importance to our viewing area. Please remember that the views expressed by our guests are their own and do not necessarily represent the views of TCT or the station.